We're done day with Monday, Mandy. Now it's time for Tuesday. Hope it's not a blues day. Let's goose day. First card of the day is Animal Friend. This is 2 mana, 1 to green for an aura that enchants a creature. Enchanted creature has, whenever this creature attacks, create a 1/1 green squirrel creature token. Put a +1/+1 counter on that token for each aura and equipment attached to this creature other than Animal Friend. Okay, so I have seen this before. Building, Sithis Harvest Hand and various other, enchantressy commander decks and stuff in the past. This is about 20 cents from Fallout. You can get a version of it for 20 cents. And I think it should be even worth more than that. It should. There's ways, we've already seen them this week, of, attacking more than once in a turn. So I guess you can get more than one giant squirrel. But even if you just have 3, auras on a guy, besides Animal Friend, it sounds like a lot, but it's not. It's easy in these Enchantress decks. You get a 4/4 every turn. It seems good. Even if you're just doing it once a turn, it seems okay for an investment of a couple of mana. So I like it. I like that it makes a squirrel in your squirrel deck. There's cool things about that. But obviously, I don't know that it's the best aura that you could be playing in your aura decks. I typically leave it out myself. So I will give this card a 4.4. I think that it's very, very close to playability, and you will play it sometimes. You will. It depends on what you want to be doing. Baeloth Baratil Entertainer is up next from Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate. This card is $7.50, and I have never seen it in my life. Never once have I seen this card, so must be pretty decent. 5 mana, 4 and a red for a 2/5 legendary Elf Shaman. Creatures your opponents control with power less than Baeloth Barrel's power are goaded. Okay. Whenever a goaded attacking or blocking creature dies, you create a treasure token. Okay. And choose a background. Okay. Huh. A really good background, Commander. He gets a background too. You know what I mean? This is already a really good guy. With power less than Baratil's power. So you have to increase his power somehow. But if you can do that, if you can get his power to 6, then suddenly most creatures just can't attack you. And if he's suited up with Swiftfoot Boots or Lightning Greaves or something, then just creatures can't attack you unless you and one player are left, and then I guess they can because they are unable to attack someone else. But in the meantime, you'll get a lot of treasures too. This is good. This is good. I want this card. Why is it $8? Because I want it. Anything that you want nowadays is $7 to $10. That's how it is. This guy's awesome. I'm going to ask the audience though, what do you guys think? I think that a red pillow fort, man, is really interesting. That's so cool. Because that's what it effectively amounts to that in a lot of ways. It's not necessarily a prison deck, but it kind of does make for a prison deck. Once you get the guy down, they just can't attack you with all but the largest men. So kind of a red prison commander that ramps you. I like him a lot. I'm going to give this guy... You guys are going to think I'm just nuts. I'm going out of my Gordski, but you know that I've been out of my Gordski since my Lordski put me on this earth. So I'm going to give this 7.8. This looks so good to me. As far as the unique commander tax, especially given the color that he's in, this guy's just setting off. He's getting my juices flowing. You know what I mean? He's doing it for me. I like him a lot. Next is, it's Elvish Archers. Some of the coolest art from back in the day. You see that, guys? Back in 1995, me and my buddies all thought that this was some of the best Magic the Gathering art there was. And it still is. Anson Maddox, I said it yesterday. I said it's twice this week that I have to point out that Anson Maddox is the king. I would say that he dropped his crown, but he never once did. Anson always put out bangers, dude. Look at the palette. Look at the contrast. Look at the colors he chose. It's somehow red, green, and yellow without looking like peas, carrots, or, ketchup and mustard. It's not, the whole thing goes together. The blue-green of the shirt goes with the red of the bow. I could talk about the art all day. Just gorgeous, incredible art on this card in that old-school Magic style. This is what a Magic card looks like. This is the aesthetic that made me fall in love with the game in the first place. The aesthetic had a lot to do with it. We've gone a long way from that aesthetic. And I just feel like if Magic cards would just look like this again, You see what we've lost? Do you see what we've lost? Anyway, it's just 2 mana. It's just 1 and a green for a 2/1 elf archer with first strike. That's all the card does. Can I get back to talking about when I was 12? I do think, though, that this isn't just a when I was 12 thing. I think that Magic cards looking like this was objectively one of the big reasons that Magic became such a cultural phenomenon in the first place. We keep getting farther and farther away from not just high fantasy, which I don't necessarily have a problem with. I've defended Ether Drift in the past, and I'm one of those people that loves Edge of Eternities. It doesn't have to be high fantasy at all for me. I'm often against those people in arguments. But there's just something. There's just something about the way this card looks. You know what I mean? Look at what this card looks like. I'm going to give the way this card makes me feel in the art a 10.1. The card itself, I'm going to give the honorary 5 of the day. Because I haven't learned my lesson. Remember yesterday we saw like 4 cards that could have been the honorary 5, but I gave it to the first, Tom, Dick, and Hal from Beyond that I saw. This, I'm going to give it the honorary 5 and feel, again, no shame whatsoever. It deserves it. This is one of the cards of my childhood that cemented this game for me. And I would get misty talking about this card if I gave myself long enough to do it. But all it is a 2 mana 2/1. It's Thalia. It's Thalia without the tax ability in green. That's it. But something about it, man. Something about it. But next is Elementalist Palette. This is from Commander 2021. This is about $4 right now. So I guess it does something. Again, a card I've never seen in my life. So a card that I'm very tied to spiritually when it comes to Magic, into a card I've never seen a day in my living life. 3 mana for an artifact. Whenever you cast a spell with X in its mana cost, okay, put 2 charge counters on Elementalist Palette. I am paying attention. Tap for a mana of any color, or tap to add colorless for each charge counter on palette. Spend this mana only on costs that contain X. So you don't have to cast spells with X in their cost, just any cost that contains X. Pretty narrow, but super awesome. This is good art too, by the way, by Alessandro Pisano. Really, really cool art. But all things considered, yeah, it's dope. There's a few things that'll get me to play a 3 mana rock. Because I don't really like Commander Sphere. There's still some people out there that are like, I put that in every deck. I do not. But this looks great in the right deck. Again, fairly narrow in application, but in those X decks, and there's a bunch of commanders off the top of my head. There's 4 commanders that care about casting X spells. So really sick thing for those decks, man. And I've always been a big fan of X spells in general. So I'm gonna give this a 5.5. I think it's a really, really good rock for the decks that it goes in. Next is Dromad Purebred from Ravnica City of Guilds. This is 5 mana, 4 and a white for a 1/5 beast. Whenever this guy's dealt damage, you gain a life. That's it. That's the whole card. He's good at blocking, I guess. I'm going to give this a 2.1. I like the life gain triggers sometimes. Elvish impersonators. Do you get the joke? We don't do uncards around here, but do you understand this is an Elvish impersonator? Hilarious. Next is Dune Drifter from Ether Drift. This is the wacky art. The actual art looks like this. X, a black, and a white for a 3/3 vehicle with crew 2. When it enters, return an artifact or creature card mana value X or less from your yard to the battlefield. So an always pretty expensive reanimator spell, but a reanimator spell nonetheless. I guess this actually gets better the cheaper the guy it gets back. If you have a really good 1-drop in your deck, then suddenly paying 3 mana for this doesn't seem so bad. It really doesn't. I guess nowadays in Standard, you could play this for 3 mana and get back the Lightstall Inquisitor from your graveyard. Play it again the next turn, and it can crew the Dune Drifter while also annoying your opponent, making a card in their hand cost more, or a land tap. So that's a cute line, but these are all just cute lines. The card's not very good. I will give this a 3. Still a reanimator spell, although not a very good one. Next is Keeper. Well, I'll give it a 2.8. We can dip into the 2s on that. This is not very good. Next is Keeper of the Accord. This is from the Fallout set. Costs you about 25 cents right now. 4 mana, 3 and a white for a 3/4 human soldier. At the beginning of each opponent's end step, if that player controls more creatures than you, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. All right. At the beginning of each opponent's end step, if that player controls more lands than you, search your library for a basic plains, throw it on the battlefield tapped, and shuffle. Damn. This is 25 cents? Is this a banger? It's each opponent's instep for both things. That's wild. Just the second ability that lets you go and throw lands onto the table. That's that's really good. Like, you have a single opponent that's ramping. Just one ramping opponent. This will give you a land every turn. If you have a tokens opponent, this will give you a creature every turn. Am I losing my mind? Is this really good? Ask the audience. I'm going to ask the audience on this one because, like, this card seems stacked, racked, and jacked. In fact. Ask the audience. You guys let me know. This is... I can't give this what I want to give it. I want to give this like an 8. This looks so good. This looks unbelievably good to me. I'm gonna give this card a 7.5. And then you explain to me in the comments like why it's terrible. It triggers 3 times each turn cycle. It triggers 3 times every turn cycle. 6, really. When you think about it, it triggers 6 times every turn cycle. I truly believe that is incredible. Next is Confiscate. Pretty simple card here. Where are you from originally? Urza Saga? Yes, nailed it. Never wrong. This was in a World Championship deck from 2000. It was in a sideboard. 6 mana, 4 and double blue for an enchant permanent. You control enchanted permanent. It can be a land if you want it to be, I guess. But yeah, basically the simplest control magic of all time. You know, control magic is 4 mana for an R that enchants a creature. Just grab the creature. This is a step up. Cost half as much, half again as much mana. 50% more mana. But just grab whatever you want, Hoss. Just go hog wild, child. Confiscate is still a cool card. I honestly think that, for one, cubable. Very cubable card, for sure. But still sneakily commander playable. Sneakily commander playable. I'm going to give this card a 5.1. You can't stop me from all the way over there where you are. And I don't think that a lot of you will want to. I think that there's going to be like 2 people in the audience that are just seeing this card for the first time in their lives because they're somewhat new to Magic in the last like 5 years. And they're like, okay. It's like 6 mana is a lot, even in Commander, but anything. It can be anything. It's still looks good to me. 30 years later, it still looks good to me. Just like my wife. Blessed Wind is a prophecy card, so it's got to be really bad. It was only ever printed... It was only ever printed in Prophecy. This is actually really interesting nowadays. It costs 50 cents and it also costs 9 mana. It costs 7 and double white for a sorcery. Target player's life total becomes 20. Okay, so let's talk for a second about this. In Commander, obviously, everyone starts at 40. So this can deal 20 damage to a player in your mono white deck. That's cute. That's really neat, actually. But also, I said something about like a card in a Hope S-Time deck not long ago. It was a card that, like, Beacon of Immortality. I think it doubles your life total and shovels back into your library. And on Twitter, I said it was good with Hope S-Time. And people were like, does this work? Yeah, it does. They didn't sound like that. They were like, does this work? And it does. It turns out that any change to your life total whatsoever counts as gaining or losing life, depending on what direction your life total went in. So if you're at 10 when you cast this, you've gained 10 life. Sick with Hope S-Time. Again, very good with that card. I imagine in Commander this is fairly hard to time to make it gain you a bunch of life. Because sure, you think, oh, I'll cast it when I'm at 3, but like you're actually not at 3 in Commander very much. Like you get a tag down from 15 to 0 in Commander like all the time. So I don't know if you even get like an opening to use the card. But it is a cool design. Just really should not have cost 9 mana. Why does it cost 9 mana? Maybe controversially, I'm going to give this card a 3. It's neat. You might slip it in something every now and again, but I don't think you should. Next is Echoes of Eternity from Modern Horizons 3. This card still costs like $2 on the low end to buy. This is 3 and triple colorless specifically for a Kindred Eldrazi enchantment. If a triggered ability of a colorless spell you control or another colorless permanent you control triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. Whenever you cast a colorless spell, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. So Cute. Very, very, very cute thing. Enchantment here. That is especially good in Eldrazi decks because it copies cast triggers and stuff like that. But there's plenty of other like artifacts you can copy triggers on and stuff that maybe do something at the end of the turn, right? There's a fair number of those. So really neat card here that it doesn't surprise me it's still holding at least a little bit of its price. Very narrow, but great in the decks it's supposed to be in. Like it's a must include in those decks. So I'm going to go ahead and run a 6.1 on this. I think it's great. I do. But next is Shamanic Revelation, our final card of the day. This is good. This is a really, really good card. First printed in Fate Reforged. That was the set that I started the YouTube channel with. 5 mana, 3 and double green for a sorcery. Draw a card for each creature you control. Already crazy. This also has Ferocious. You gain 4 life for each creature you control with power 4 or greater. On the low end, this will cost you about 75 cents to get a copy of, and I think that there is almost no better way of spending 75 cents on a Magic card than buying this. You know, this is a reason to play all your big Timmy guys in green or in Gruul or whatever. And even outside of just a strictly huge min that I want to stomp face with deck, you know, this can do a lot in other decks too. I'm currently playing a copy of this in Beloth Bard of Brambles because even though I don't have a lot of huge creatures in the deck, I do have artifacts that become become 4-power guys during my turn. That's what Beloth does. Artifacts and enchantments become 4/4 indestructible guys during your turn. So if I have like 4 artifacts or enchantments out, cast Shamanic Revelation, I gain 1 billion life. I draw like 5 cards because I have a Beloth out too. So this can refill your hand in green, unlike a lot of things. 5 mana is a lot, don't get me wrong, but this can easily draw like 5, 6, again, 7 cards some of the time. And depending on the deck it's in, it can draw even more than that. The life gain is incidental, but very good, you know? And obviously in like a elves deck, this just draws half your deck like all at one time, you know, in any green creature deck that's going wide at all, in a green-white tokens deck that's going super wide, this is going to draw like literally 10 cards, like fairly easily. You know, it goes well with token makers like Secure the Wastes and any like X spell that makes a bunch of guys. This can go fairly well with too. So drawing cards is the best thing you can do in a game of Magic. I'm fairly convinced of it. And this draws a lot of them in decks that don't usually have access to a lot of card draw. So really great card, man. I think that Beast Whisperer might be the better piece of green card draw altogether. I also am a huge fan of Greater Good. I think Greater Good is kind of an underrated green card draw piece, but Shamanic Revelation is kind of on a short list of very good green card draw spells that I think can go in not any deck, but very close to any deck. I'm going to maybe freak you out here a little bit and give Shamanic Revelation an 8. I really do have that much faith in this card. I've resolved this card a bunch in my life. I've played precious few Commander games in that life, but in a few of those Commander games, I have resolved this card. And as a matter of fact, I've resolved this card in Standard a few times when it was in Standard, and it always felt great. Always felt great. So yeah, I'm going to stand by my 8. If you've never resolved a Shamanic Revelation in a game of Commander, it always feels very good. It's incredibly good. So yeah, play the card, I guess, is my ultimate suggestion. But that is it for Tuesday. I'll see you on the Addams Family Day. Bye.